You ever have one of those mornings where you're already tired before the day even starts? Not because you didn't sleep, but because your brain is already doing math. Rent, bills, food, a payment you forgot about, something you should buy, something you must pay, and you're thinking, I make decent money, so why do I still feel broke? That's not because you're bad with money. It's because your life has an expense engine that automatically eats every raise. In the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly how it works and the simple way to slow it down so your next raise actually feels like progress. Let's start with a picture that looks normal. Meet Jason. Jason is 32. He has a good job, nothing flashy but solid. He makes about $78,000 a year. A few years ago, he would have called that made it. Today, he feels like he's always catching up. Jason gets paid twice a month. On paper, it looks like a lot, but the strange part is this. The money hits his account, and then it disappears so fast he barely feels it. And that right there is the first clue. Most people think their problem is not enough money, but the real problem is often money that never becomes yours. Here's how the paycheck illusion works. Your paycheck arrives in one clean number. It feels like power. It feels like I can breathe. But your life doesn't take money in one clean number. Your life takes money in quiet little bites. A subscription here, a delivery fee there, a payment that auto-pools while you're asleep, a bill that's only $39, a small upgrade that becomes permanent. And because each bite is small, your brain doesn't treat it like danger. So you don't react. You don't panic. You just keep living. But at the end of the month, you look back and think, wait, where did it go? That's the illusion. You see income clearly, but you feel spending quietly. And the system around you is built to make spending feel quiet. Auto pay, one-click buy, tap to pay, buy now, pay later, free trials, only $9.99, only $14 a month. And your brain goes, that's nothing, until it's everything. Now let me show you the second layer, because this is where the trap gets tighter. When you get a raise, you don't just get extra money. You also get a new version of you, a new standard. Maybe you move to a nicer place because you're tired of feeling behind. Maybe you lease a nicer car because you want reliability. Maybe you start saying yes to more things because you're finally allowed to live a little. None of that is stupid. It's human. The problem is what happens next. The upgrade becomes normal. And once something becomes normal, it stops feeling like a choice. It becomes a requirement. That's why people don't feel free after a raise. They feel briefly relieved, then the stress returns. Because the raise didn't buy freedom, it bought a new set of monthly obligations. And obligations are heavy. Here's a simple way to understand it. Freedom is not your salary. Freedom is your breathing room. It's the space between what you earn and what your life demands every month. When that space is small, you live in pressure, even with a good job. When that space is big, you feel calm, even with an average job. So why does the space stay small for so many people? Because modern life is designed like a treadmill. The moment you speed up, the treadmill speeds up too. Costs rise, expectations rise, your normal rises, and your spending quietly follows you like a shadow. Now let's talk about the part nobody likes to admit. The paycheck illusion doesn't just affect your bank account, it changes your personality. It makes you more careful, more anxious, more tired. Because when your life depends on your next paycheck, your brain goes into protection mode. You start avoiding risks, not because you're weak, but because you're cornered. You stay at a job you don't like longer than you should. You accept disrespect you shouldn't accept. You delay dreams you actually want. Not because you don't want change, because change feels dangerous when you don't have a buffer. That's the real cost, not the money. The feeling that your life is not yours.
And here's the scary question that reveals it fast. If your paycheck stopped tomorrow, how long could you keep living the same life? Not how long could you survive in an extreme way. I mean, keep your current life, rent, food, payments, everything. 1 month? 2? If the answer makes your stomach tighten, that's not security, that's dependency. And dependency is fragile. Now I want to give you the good news. The way out is not some complicated finance trick. It's a simple shift. Stop chasing a bigger paycheck and start building a bigger gap. The gap is your power. Let's make it practical. Step 1 is the most boring step, and it's the one that changes everything. You need to see your minimum life number. That's the number your life costs each month to stay stable. Rent, food, transport, insurance, minimum debt payments, basic bills. Not the dream life, the minimum life. Most people don't know this number. They only know the feeling, I hope it's enough. And that feeling keeps you stuck. Because if you don't know your minimum life number, you can't build a plan, you can't build safety, you can't build freedom. So you write it down. Then you do step 2. You build a buffer. A buffer is not being rich. A buffer is a small wall between you and panic. Even $500 to $1,000 can change how you think, because your brain stops feeling like every little problem is an emergency. A buffer turns, oh no, into, okay, I can handle this. And once you have a buffer, step 3 becomes possible. You start protecting the gap on purpose. This is where most people mess up. They treat the gap as extra, something to spend because you deserve it. I get it. But if you always spend the gap, you stay on the treadmill forever. So you decide, the gap is not for lifestyle, the gap is for freedom. Freedom money has a job. It buys you options. Options are what make you calm, and options are what break the salary trap. Now, step 4, you redirect the gap into things that actually help you long term. This doesn't need to be complicated. It can be 3 simple buckets. Bucket 1, buffer money, emergency fund, safe cash. Bucket 2, debt pressure removal. If you have high interest debt, paying it down is like giving your brain oxygen. Bucket 3, long-term investing, even small, even boring. The goal is not to get rich next month. The goal is to stop relying only on your next paycheck. Because when money can grow without your hours, that's when the trap starts to loosen. Now, there's one more part that matters, and this is the psychology piece most people skip. You need to separate looking successful from being free. Looking successful is easy to fake. A nice car, a nice apartment, a full schedule, expensive habits. But freedom is quiet. Freedom is having money left after life happens. Freedom is sleeping without checking your bank app. Freedom is being able to say no without fear. So here's a small challenge I want you to try for the next 30 days. Every time you're about to upgrade something, pause and ask one question. Is this buying comfort or is this buying freedom? Comfort is not bad, but if comfort keeps you trapped, it becomes expensive. Freedom might look boring at first, but it feels amazing later. And if you want a simple rule to remember, make it this. Don't grow your lifestyle until you grow your options, because options are the real security. Not your salary, not your job title, not your benefits. Options. And I know what some people will say, but costs are high, life is expensive, it's hard. Yes, you're right. That's why the goal isn't perfection. The goal is direction. Even small direction, repeated, becomes a different life. Because the salary trap isn't one big chain. It's 1,000 tiny ropes. And you don't break it with one giant move. You break it by cutting one rope at a time. One subscription you don't need. One upgrade you delay. One buffer you build. One debt you shrink. One simple investment you automate. And slowly, something changes. You stop living for the next paycheck, and you start living with choice. That's the real win. So, let me ask you something, and I want you to answer in the comments. What's the biggest thing that makes your paycheck disappear right now? Is it rent, food, debt, car payment, or little spending that adds up? And if you want more videos like this, simple money psychology, real-world systems, and beginner-friendly steps that actually reduce stress, subscribe. Because the goal here isn't to make you feel guilty. The goal is to make you feel free. I'll see you in the next video.